Um, I left a message this morning to Karen. I figure you know who Karen is, right? Clan mother, 13th Arcturian White Bear clan mother, right? I there's an obvious. I unloaded a mountain of information in her window, and how this sort of works with accelerated learning, because I've shared this with everybody, really, and you know how the morphogenetic field structure. That's why I love. See, there are no coincidences when you consider the level of intelligence that consciousness energy, which is consciousness creative energy, is experiencing itself. So you can say, well, IT, information technology, so, right? And so when I was a little boy, here I am at 4 years of age in 1955, and I was on fire to learn. Okay, now, when you're on fire to learn, you're experiencing at the highest rate of speed because you're experiencing the eternal spirit of fire, right? That's hyperspeed. That's hyperspeed learning. And that's called a gifted student because you're experiencing the first teacher. Okay, that's simple enough. So when you have a one connection, right, which is dial the main operator 0, you're experiencing direct current, right? But you can only hold so much energy in one of these things. The operator, the tech operator, right? So what a tech operator is, the helpline. Hey, I need some help with my machinery. That's why they're coming to us. They're coming to the first. The founder races, the keepers of the threefold founder flames. And so it's no coincidence. I mean, you think that it was a coincidence that there I am putting my state of consciousness, and applying my state of consciousness, which is an APIN grid network, to go to the University of Arkansas to take all the classes that I did in order to experience what I was supposed to experience at the time that I was supposed to do that. Because what am I doing? When you're running at hyperspeed, which is a polarity integrator, it means that you're processing an enormous amount of data at a faster speed, faster than a warp drive. So that you're experiencing so much multidimensional learning. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. You're processing visual, mathematical, geometrical information on a multi-density, multi-dimensional level that you can understand from a polarity integrator's point of view what gets transmuted at that level of operating at that level. And that's really what it is the level that you operate at, because you're operating biotech, right? The genetic engineering codes, right? So I've mentioned this before, but it means that eternal state of consciousness, which is eternal engines, the engines of creation, the first creation, then that energy is everywhere and it's in everything. You can't escape that energy because that energy is always there. So I've used a mountain of examples of how that sort of works. And the reason that this is most important is because if you're learning through the one, right, then you're experiencing through eternal love. So eternal love, which is an eternal sun, is running at a higher rate of speed because that's an accelerator. That's the highest accelerator there is. So if you got a one connection, you're learning through eternal love because you have a connection to eternal love. So you're experiencing being loved for eternity. That is protection. That is natural crystalline protection of the first crystal spiral. So you're learning at the highest rate of speed because you're learning through the first spiral. You're running the first spiral. That's time wave 0, right? So you realize from a polarity integrator point of view, you're canceling out the ions to experience no charge. But that there's no way that you could experience no charge in this because you just explode. I call it a starburst, right? You'd be a starburst. So there have been a couple of times throughout my life where I've had to monitor, which is called frequency modulation, right? So we all know what frequency modulation is with a radio set. And to prevent that from happening, because I use the metaphor or the pictures, for those that have seen the pictures, moving pictures of how we learn through moving pictures, what it is we're experiencing in our mirror by virtue of the energy that we're using to experience it with, right? Okay, so now you're at how fast are you learning? In the mirror, what you're experiencing. So when you get into accelerated learning, you realize that you're going to learn faster through a living light magnet than you are a dead light magnet. Dead energy. Who wants to learn through dead energy? I mean, that's logic, right? Logic, IC. It's amazing how they invert so much stuff by using the lexicon of language. I call it the alphabet soup of fire, letters, and numbers. When you get into C space, which is three space, which is three creation spheres, right? That's God's Mama's logos. Tribeca. So I loved it when Harold Kotzvela, talked about it in a video that Karen put up yesterday, and it reminded me because I've seen a number of things that Harold's put up. And probably the simplest way that I know how to describe this from a teacher and a student's point of view, because when you're one, you're experiencing what you're learning at a very high rate of speed, right? I become aware of what you become aware of. Now I'm aware of what you're aware of. And so then when I'm a little kid, I become aware of the frequency that you're running, right? Who wants to experience that, right? I'm not supposed to experience anything less than what eternal love is, because that's what I'm experiencing through my heart and my soul. But I realize that my antenna is picking up signals that do not represent what that is, right? So when you are always rebooting, it's like you're always in reset mode. Keep resetting the radio so that you're running a clear channel. And a clear channel is an equal state, equal unto all that we're gifting love to, or gifting electrons that go on forever. Right? That's the highest accelerator. That's the highest accelerator of learning. That's hyperspeed learning. So you can imagine if we had the schools being filled up with hyperspeed learners, then you can see what would happen with the morphogenetic field structure of the universal and galactic template when we're all learning at hyperspeed. What we can experience in the future in order that we don't keep repeating the same burn patterns of past errors. And those errors are mathematical errors, of math and geometric burn patterns of sound and light creation spheres. Now for me, that's straightforward because that's what I experience. So thus I share with others how I experience being what I am, because I'm on fire to learn. That's the eternal spirit of fire. That's your protection. That's your shield. That would be like the eternal one. The eternal one runs a shield. So you realize, hey, there's a planetary shield. There's my shield, just like on this volcano, which is the Big Island of Hawaii. It's the largest shield volcano. The largest shield, DNA shield volcano. Remember what Patty said? That's their stronghold. Well, if you use the German language during World War II, in military terminology, what's a stronghold or a strong point? That means their energy is very dense, really dense. So when I have Aaron tell me, who lives above me, that somewhere around 65-70% of the people that live on the Big Island of Hawaii are blowing holes in their shield, that means that all those units of consciousness that are deliberately blowing holes in their shield, you realize that the largest shield volcano has per capita, if you want to think about it as volume, because this island is how many miles across, right? When you got 65-75% of the people that are on this island blowing holes in their crystalline shield, what do you think happens to the Big Island, which is the largest shield volcano? That's why I knew that it ends here. Patty said, this is a stronghold, right? So you can see why a hyperspeed accelerator would be grounding its energy and working with the sun in order to speed it up by tapping into the energy that is represented by Mama's energy here, right? To accelerate the learning, which is to accelerate what we're experiencing to each other through the lines of communication that we have with each other, which is the morphogenetic field structure of communication between latitude and longitude. Right? The vertical and horizontal stabilizers of a gyroscope, which is gyrodome technology. right? So we're experiencing perfect balance, which is balanced consciousness, which is experiencing zero, which means, man, whoa, I'm experiencing being loved, right? So now you see why failsafe was invoked, which is a reset, right? So it's all about accelerated learning. How fast are we learning? So which would you rather learn through as a student? Go ask a child, right? I went through this whole exercise when I was a little kid, okay, about who I would rather learn from. If you're on fire to learn. So naturally, that's going to be mama, which is nature, which is how nature works. So you can see how it works in nature, in cycles, right? The cycling of energy, which is the cycling of consciousness, which is the cycling of atom spheres, creation spheres, atmospherics, the ether, the Ethernet, programmable matter, the matter codes, right? In the matter, out the matter, flash sequences. You know, the speed at which you're experiencing what we do is the ISO frame rates, the shutter speed of the holographic eyeballs, right? The blinking the lights. I remember when Patty said, they're blinking their lights. Yeah, I'm blinking my lights right now. The cross. Yeah, the cross inside the sphere. When you're at the point of origin inside the first star, which is the first musician, those burn patterns are perfect. There isn't any errors in the math or the geometry, right? Of course, that's the highest level of creative intelligence. So the bifurcation side of this, when you go back and look in the Eric archive, take a look at the studies about what happens to children when their mind is bifurcated, right? So what it means, they have a relationship in learning through a deadlight magnet, right? Instead of learning through a bigger magnet. So this is where Harold mentioned a binary vesica piscis is not fast, which is, by the way, their checkerboard. You're not going to learn as fast unless you're learning through mama. Tree. Mama's a teacher. You're going to learn through her a lot faster than you are anybody else, right? Here on this planet, which is why it's a healing planet, which is why it's a Nomi, noble, fail-safe code planet, which means it's a healing ship, which means it's a healing center, which is a triage, trilogs. Now we're back to log scale tables. Log scale distribution that are equidistant from the center point so that everything that is inside that sphere is experiencing eternal love. That means we're all experiencing being loved by the one, which is the one law, which is law of spheres, which is love is a law, which is the eternal spirit of fire. That's called purified. Purify the light. So you're experiencing purified light. That's a purified shield. That's a powerful shield volcano, isn't it? Yeah. So that's a high-speed motor, right? Which is a high-speed tetrahedron. Accelerated hyperspeed learning, which is hypersensitive. So yeah, I'm very emotional because I'm very, very, very sensitive. So now we're back to the art of communication, right? And I better go because I got somebody coming who's going to... the senior bus comes out here once a week on Tuesdays. And you know something they did that was new? They called me on Friday. And they said, hey, Robert, Monday is a memory day. We're remembering who we are on memory day. Okay, so we wanted to check with you to let you know that. If you want to come up on Tuesday to come into Gila. Yeah. So they're going to be here in a few minutes. So that's my opening salvo, as in Salvation Army, right? Salvation, salvage contracts, redemption contracts, redeeming ourselves, restoring our energy selves, restoring our true self, experiencing what love is, the first musician, the first teacher. Have a great day. Bye now.